I didn't lose it on this flight, but I finally understood why people do. Welcome to part 11 of the Spain and Morocco series. I am Angie, the Inner Glow Coach, and today we are talking about the final installment on this trip. And I know I keep reiterating how bad I wanted to go home. And as I was writing this for the newsletter this week, it made me wonder, why didn't I just change my flight and go home even earlier? It was like there was something in me that felt like I needed to stick it out for 2 weeks. But in hindsight, as I'm reflecting on this, I was like, why am I doing something I hate so much? It was almost like I was trying to prove something, but I don't know why I didn't just leave early. But anyway, I didn't. So this is how the ending of my trip went. I had a flight from Marrakesh to Munich, Germany, and it left at 2 o'clock in the morning, which I don't know. I'm the kind of person, like, I just kind of like book the flights with like the least amount of layovers. I try to book direct flights if possible, but obviously Honolulu, well, it might not be obvious to you, but Honolulu doesn't have a lot of direct flights anywhere. It's actually outside of the US. It's very difficult to get anywhere else from here. So, but as much as possible, I try to book flights with minimal layovers and legs. But this was the shortest possible flight through United. And it left at 2 a.m. for Marrakesh, and it went to Munich, Germany. And so it kind of sucked because I didn't get a lot of sleep, and I was hoping to sleep on the flight at 2 a.m., but I was just in this, the whole trip, because there was always something happening, I was in this constant state of hypervigilance. And so I didn't sleep on the flight. I think I was like waiting for something to happen, like, oh, this flight's gonna get delayed, or just, I was on edge, is what I'm trying to say. But anyway, I get to Munich, and similar to Frankfurt, Germany is very like regimented and structured. So the Munich airport, it's very like clean and modern. And it reminded me of this Russian company that I once interviewed for. The name of the company is called Evraz. And this is when I lived in Chicago. And I went to the building, it was in the Aon Center. I don't even know if this building, or the building still exists. I don't know if the company still exists. But anyway, like the office, it was just like very Spartan. There was like the bare minimum decor. Everything was like black or white or like very neutral color. There was no colors, very plain, and just very like formal and institutional. So the Munich airport reminded me of that company because it was just very formal and institutional. So when I got to the airport, I found my gate, and like a normal airport gate area, there was like seating around the gate, but it was very loud and noisy because it's an airport, so there's all this hustle and bustle. But then off to the side, there was this garden area. So there were like little trees and like all this other like foliage and stuff. And it was actually really beautiful. And it almost looked like it was a restricted area because it was this separate area that had its own doorway. But like, just out of curiosity, I was like, what is this garden in the middle of the airport? Because I've never seen anything like it. And I wander in, and it's just as beautiful inside as it was outside. But not only that, there was like a seating area. There's like a place to sit and charge your phone. There were like these lounge chairs. And so I was like, I'm sitting in here because it was quiet. I was the only one. Obviously, like the scenery was beautiful. So I was like, I'm just gonna rest here until my flight takes off. So I'm all like digging the garden area and the serenity of it. And then other people who were in the noisy gate area, they saw me go into the garden, and it was like almost immediately as I went in the garden area, a few people followed me in. And again, it kind of looked like a restricted area, so I'm assuming they thought it was until they saw me go in. But anyway, it wouldn't have been a big deal that there were other people there, but the problem was, in my opinion, the garden had like a library vibe, meaning when you go to the library, there's just this societal expectation that it's a quiet place. So if you want to be in that environment, then you need to adapt and also be quiet. But I think that was simply my interpretation, because the other people that followed me in there, first of all, it was like these two younger guys, and they were having a conversation, which again is fine, but it was so loud and so obnoxious. The other thing is, it was kind of a large garden area. They like sat down like 2 seats away from me, and it's like, it doesn't have to be like this. Like, you could have went to the other end, and I actually got up and went to the other end, because it's like, I don't want to be in the middle of this loud conversation. And then, but I could still hear them even though I moved. And then this other lady appeared almost immediately after them, which again is fine. And she was talking on the phone, which again is fine. But she was also being loud, and she was on speakerphone. And I do not understand the psychology of people who talk on speakerphone in public. I remember, this was a long time ago, it was like 10 years ago, my phone broke. And this is back when, I don't know if anyone has Verizon, but back in the day, Verizon had, it was called new every 2, meaning you could get a new phone for free every 2 years. Or if it wasn't free, it was like extremely cheap. It's not that way anymore, but it was a really good deal back in the day. Well, anyway, so I was like 9 months out from my new every 2 renewal, and my phone broke. And the only way I could talk on the phone was on speakerphone. And again, this was 10 years ago. Society has changed for the better or worse. And for that 9 months, I would not talk on the phone in public. Like, if someone called me, I would text them like, hey, I can call you in an hour, or whatever the situation was. And my boyfriend at the time would always make fun of me, because he's like, I know you're not answering because you're in public and don't want to talk on speakerphone. But anyway, my point is, I don't understand the psychology behind people who talk on speakerphone in public, especially in this like quiet, serene garden. So I was annoyed. It wasn't a huge deal, but yes, it was annoying. My point is, it's like on the tail end of this 2 weeks, and all I want to do is get home, and I'm kind of on edge because I'm nervous about flight delays. But anyway, the garden area in the Munich airport is very nice if anyone passes through Munich. But anyway, so finally I board the flight from, and it was Munich to San Francisco, which is a 12-hour flight. And just as soon as we finished boarding, one of the flight attendants gets on and makes an announcement that the ground crew didn't load the food carts into the airplane. And I was like, what the hell? Because on my flight from San Francisco to Frankfurt, the baggage guys crashed their cart into the plane. And both of these delays just felt like so random and obscure, because it's like, how often could this possibly happen? Especially on a 12-hour flight. How do you forget to pack the food? And the announcement, unfortunately, it didn't say a specific time frame. It was just like, oh, we'll, be on the road, or in the air shortly. It just said shortly. So I was like, breathe, just be patient, it's fine. Also, I think I had a 2-hour layover in San Francisco, so I had a little bit of a cushion in terms of delays. But there was a part of me, even though I was like regulating my emotions and trying to be patient about it, there was a part of me that wanted to have a total emotional breakdown, because at this point I was so over it, and I was so emotionally fragile, and I was just hanging on for dear life emotionally. But anyway, because I had the flight at 2 a.m. for Marrakesh, I'm assuming this is why, plus all the stress, I had a raging headache. And I was on the plane. I didn't really realize it until I was on the plane. So I didn't buy anything at the airport, so I didn't have anything. And so one of the passing flight attendants, I asked her if she had ibuprofen or whatever, and she's like, yep, we have it in the first aid kit. I have to take care of something else, but then I'll get it for you. So I was like, okay, cool. And then the lady next to me, oh, by the way, originally on this flight, I had an aisle seat somewhere in the middle of the plane. I think it was like premium economy. But United suspiciously changed my seat to all the way in the back of the plane, which is like notorious for being like noisy because it's right by the bathrooms. And again, this is a 12-hour flight. I wanted to sleep. So I didn't have to do this, but I needed to change my seat. And the only seats left that were ideal this was the last seat left that was ideal. It was in the emergency exit row. So there was like no seats in front of it. It was just like 2 aisles, quote unquote, in front of it, or rows. What would have been rows was like the flight attendant jumper seat, and then it started the next section. So there was like unlimited leg room. The catch was I was in the middle seat, but I was like, it'll be fine as long as I have like extra leg room. Like, this is good for sleeping. So anyway, so I'm in the middle. The lady next to me overheard me, who was in the aisle seat. She overheard me talking to the flight attendant and saying that I had a headache. And she was like, oh, I have Excedrin. And Excedrin has caffeine, and I wanted to sleep on this flight. So I was like, no, it's okay. She's going to get me some, ibuprofen or whatever. But then she never came. But finally, like, the delay for the food carts was not long. So we like pushed back. And after we took off, I flagged down the flight attendant again, and the first aid kit that she originally went to was out of the medication. And she was like, oh, I think we have another first aid kit around here somewhere. I'll get it for you. But in the meantime, like, I have a raging headache and I need to sleep. So I did take the Excedrin from the woman next to me. And then just as I'm ready to take my nap, they start their first food service. And so I wait to nap until after they get past my row, because I know there's going to be a lot of commotion or whatever. So, and then as they're serving our row, the flight attendant says to me, she's like, oh, I can't find the other first aid kit, or something like that. And it's like, this is a 12-hour flight. They were so, between the food carts and these first aid kits, it's like they were so unprepared. It was so weird. But anyway, so food service gets past me, so I'm like, okay, it's time to take a nap. Just as soon as I have that thought, the guy next to me in the window seat spills his cup of tomato juice. And it was like slow motion, because like I hear the noise and I look over, and like the red juice, I was wearing Kelly green leggings. Like, this is mint green. I guess it was more like this color. So they're green, and there's like red tomato juice splattered all over my leg. And I was like, I was in shock, basically. I'm just sitting there. And then my brain kicks in. I was like, I need to wipe this off. So I grab my Moroccan tote that I had just bought in Morocco, it was behind the seats, like way in front of me, because that was the downside of having this emergency exit row. There was no like immediate under seat storage. So I had to go get the wipes out of my bag. And then the worst part was the guy who spilled the drink, like, he didn't even give a shit. He just went back to eating. I don't even remember if he apologized, maybe, but like, he just did not give AF. And that was the part that pissed me off the most. So as I'm watching him, I grab my hand wipes and I'm just watching him eat and not even give a shit. And it was like, there was this stillness. And then it was like what I imagine the Hulk feels like before he like morphs into this beast. I felt this simmering of what I call my inner Chicagoan, because I do live in Hawaii now, but I have this like inner gangsta Chicagoan who can come out, and I could feel it simmering, and then it just started boiling, and all of my anger was focused on that guy, and I just had this urge, and I never feel like this. Well, if you've been listening to the series, the last time I felt like this was in the taxi cab in Marrakesh, but that's in a different version. I think it was part 9. But anyway, I wanted to punch this guy in the face. That's how pissed off I was at him. first of all, for spilling, and I get that it was an accident, but he did not care, and that pissed me off so much, and I wanted to punch him. And again, I'm very emotionally fragile already, so there's a very thin line between thinking about it and doing it. And I did have some rational thoughts. I was like, I've never punched anyone in the face. I don't know how I feel about that. But I have gone off on someone in public. And not that I was proud of that moment, but I had done it and I felt comfortable doing it again. So I was like, yeah, I think I want to go batshit crazy on this guy right now. So just as I was ready to go off on him, my inner Chicagoan was there. Fortunately, I've done a lot of inner work. So functional adult Angie stepped forward and was like, hey, before you do anything, just breathe, and whatever you do, make sure you don't end up on the no-fly list. Excuse me, the no-flight list. And so I thought about it, and I was like, if I go crazy, and I was thinking about all the people who are in these viral videos of going insane on a plane. And in that moment, I had so much compassion for them because they were most likely going through something in their life that was totally unrelated to the plane or the ride. And, something happens on the plane and you're in this claustrophobic space with other people and other people's energy. And you have people like this guy who are careless for whatever reason. Maybe he's going through his own stuff. I don't know. But from my point of view, it seemed extremely rude and inconsiderate to not even care, especially because it was tomato juice. I mean, come on. So I just had a lot of compassion for the people who go crazy on those viral videos because it's like, yeah, it's a lot, and I get it now. So, but anyway, luckily, functional adult me was like, if I go off on this guy right now, first of all, everyone's going to be pulling out their phones and filming me or recording me. Sorry, I'm a Gen X, so that's why I said filming. And also, we were only an hour into a 12-hour flight. So for 11 hours, they probably would have restrained me and treated me like a psycho. So I had to think about my own well-being. So I calmly went to the bathroom, and I remember I was just violently rubbing the wipes on my leggings because I was so pissed off and I just wanted to get the tomato juice off. And also I was pissed because I carry on, I don't check luggage. So my carry-on was in the cabin, but I didn't have any clean clothes. I had been on this 2-week trip. I was ready to go home. And then I had a 2-hour layover in San Francisco and a 5-hour flight from San Francisco to Honolulu. So this is just the beginning of my day, and now my clothes are dirty. So I was pissed. I was scrubbing. And then I just had this moment where I was like, I don't need to be strong anymore. I've been trying to keep it together until I get home, and it's okay to not be okay. And I had a total emotional breakdown on this flight in the bathroom. I don't even know how long I was in there. I didn't give a shit. I'm like, if people have to use the restroom, they can go somewhere else because I just need a minute. And it was really intense, but it was what I needed to basically not punch that guy in the face and go off on him. So I cleaned off my pants. Miraculously, I made it through the rest of the flight and got to San Francisco. There was a snag on my flight from San Francisco to Honolulu. My seat, and again, I had upgraded to premium economy, and because I wanted to sleep, I wanted extra leg room, and my seat, it would recline, but then very slowly it would come back up. And I did say something to one of the flight attendants, but it was a full flight, and he did give me I don't know, it was $100 credit or something for a future flight, which was nice, but that doesn't solve the fact that I can't sleep on this upright seat on a 5-hour flight that's on the tail end of a 28-hour trip total. You know what I mean? So it was discouraging, but it was the last leg of my trip. So I'm like, I just need to be strong and make it till I got home. I came home, this is my front door right here. I came through the front door, I unloaded my bags, and I collapsed to the floor and kissed it because I was so happy to be home, because that was a trip for sure. And in the following weeks, and even through writing the series and talking about it on YouTube, I had a lot of time to process what happened and potentially think about why it was happening, because life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. So I'm a big believer in extracting the lessons, and especially with bad situations. It's like, I don't want to go through this experience and not get anything out of it. So in reflection, this is what I came up with. This trip presented me with so many opportunities to deal with uncertainty, to use my voice, and advocate for myself, which are all things that I needed lessons in. I don't know why it had to be that hard of a lesson and in that compacted time frame. I'm still not sure of that, but I am so incredibly thankful for all of these lessons. And this is the end of the series, but I hope to do more series related things where I can show, because in my life, at least, in hindsight, everything happens for a reason. Even sometimes you can't see it in the moment. So I want to talk about more experiences where they were hard in the moment and talk about what that pain feels like, but then also talk about the other side where it's like, okay, that was hard, but I made it through, and this is what I got out of it, and this is the reason why it happened, because it led me to this, which was better, blah, blah, blah. So this is the end of the Spain and Morocco series. I hope you enjoyed it, and stay tuned for more series, maybe about travel, maybe not, but I will see you next time.